We're going to talk about the significance of Descartes' famous, I think, therefore I am. The significance and a little bit the insignificance of it. But first, we've been talking about Descartes' doubts. And I want to point out the dualism inherent in these doubts. Now, Descartes is famously a mind-body dualist, right? He's going to say that the mind or the soul is a distinct type of substance from physical material things. Physical material things are passive, inert. The soul is a thinking thing that somehow can add motion. Well, it's a little more complicated there, but so you've got a soul as an immaterial thing and physical things as material things. So you've got two distinct kind of types of reality for Descartes. The dualism goes even further than that, though, and it's really a kind of resurgence of Platonic dualism, or even Augustinian dualism. Descartes is, in a lot of ways, very much like Augustine in his outlook. But the dualism that I want to draw attention to, it already comes out in the first meditations when we're doing the doubts. So the way the dualism shows up in the doubts is this, right? We start doubting our senses. We start kind of looking at how we know things through the senses. And we're talking about how I can know that these hands exist. How can I know that this room exists? We start by thinking about how we have access to knowledge of the world outside of our mind. And we quickly discover a world inside of our mind. We discover the world's been duplicated. By going through these doubts and saying, hey, maybe I'm in the Matrix. Maybe an evil demon is feeding me these experiences. Suddenly, the room that I'm sitting in here, I don't actually know if I am in the room, but I do know that the room is in my mind. The room exists as the object of experience. The ideas of the room shape my experience. And then I have to ask, does the room also exist outside of my experience? And in what way is the room different outside of my experience than it is inside of my experience? Now, this sounds like solipsism, like you have no access to reality. But, right, Descartes is he's not an idiot. Well, he's, as much as people claim that Descartes is trying to pull all of this straight out of his mind, right? He is also a person who thinks very carefully about the nature of perception on an anatomical level. He thinks and has studied anatomically. He thinks carefully about the way that the body gathers information about the world. But, and this, in the course of the history of philosophy, you see this moving towards a kind of Kantianism, where we really have to think about how the inputs are processed into a reality, right? Descartes is already, when it comes to color, for instance, helping us to distinguish between what is a fact about the physical world as it exists outside of my mind, and what is a fact about the way I interpret the physical world. Color, he's going to say, is a fact about how I interpret the physical world. It's a fact about my ideas of the world. Light is a thing in the world. Light strikes the eye, causes motion in the optic nerve, results in, I don't know, how do you say causes here? Results in a perception of color. So, for instance, Descartes wants to distinguish between light as a physical phenomena and color as a mental phenomena. It's not that they aren't related in any way. Descartes doesn't offer anything satisfying to most people's minds about the way that they relate. But the fact that the way we interpret the world involves things that go beyond the physical. Right? Sound exists in your experience. Yeah, sure, your experience is physical in some way, we'll say. I mean, Descartes is not going to really... It gets a little complicated when you talk about the mind-body interaction, because for Descartes, there's an intermingling of these. And to a lot of people, myself included, this feels like a space where explanation should be provided. He doesn't have an explanation to provide, but there's an intermingling of the mental and the physical in the body. But light is a strictly bodily phenomena, and color is not a strictly physical, a strictly bodily phenomena, but it's something about the way that the light is processed into your experience. For him, there's a lot of non-physical stuff there to explain it, and it gets rather unsatisfactory for a lot of people, but there's interesting stuff there.